June 2021 will always remain a remarkable day in Nigeria's history because that was the day that the federal government of Nigeria officially banned Twitter's operations in Nigeria. Literally, we stopped having access to Twitter. What caused it? One of the president's tweet was pulled down because Nigerians had reported it as being a threat to a particular race in Nigeria, and it sounded more like a situation of the Twitter company doing what their subscribers wanted them to do, which was pull down a tweet that they deemed discomfiting. The aftermath of that is the onward suspension of Twitter. For the past 1 week, that is all Nigerians have been talking about on all platforms, from government to citizens to media houses to notable names and notable voices. On Hot Topics today, we will be talking about it, but with an updated version of the conversation. My name is Uju. You're welcome to Hot Topics. On the show today, I have my regular guest in the house, Mr. Kunle Adeniyi. He's a journalist and a political and social analyst. Thank you so much for joining me, Kunle. I also have Mr. Fortune Musa. He also is a journalist and an analyst as well. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's just get straight to it. Twitter has been banned. Well, as of today, it's still banned. So what was your first thought when it sounded like, because there was a point where it looked like, nah, they will not do it. They will not do it. And then it finally happened. What was your first thought? First as a Nigerian and as a concerned citizen, Fortune.
I think it first started as they will not do it. Then it went to they cannot do it. Mm-hmm. And then, they've done it. These are some of the realities of our time. The truth of the matter is that government actually has the power to determine what we have access to in terms of our airwaves and all of that. North Korea is a very, very good example. That in the 21st century, with the internet the way it is, you can be excluded. So that's one of the realities Nigerians are learning, and the young people of this generation need to learn. But also, the first thing that came to mind is, being a journalist and knowing Nigeria to be the kind of very animated country that we are.
Animated in what sense?
Every week there's something new. Okay. Twitter ban, looked like it was going to be a big conversation for a very long time until the president's interview this morning. Right? So, yes. So there's always, so it's always changing.
I think the word you're trying to use is a movie industry, not animated.
Well, animated, what I meant by animated.
There's always 1 week, one drama.
Yes. What I meant by animated was how organic our news space seems to be. It just keeps moving and changing forms. This was my thought. We're now going to be distracted and sidelined by this conversation for another week or two, arguing whether, it is within their power, whether it is the gagging of the media, the gagging of social media and all of that. Meanwhile, we live in a country where in the last 2 months, there has been no court case heard. It means that everybody that requires justice in one way or the other has not received justice in the last 2 months.
And that's because of the judiciary.
The Jusun strike. Yes, talking about judiciary autonomy at the state level and all of that. That means every corruption case that Nigeria is prosecuting is on hold. It means every interpretation of the constitution that is dependent on the judiciary is on hold. That conversation is not getting the attention that we are supposed to be getting. Okay. And this is how I see most of these issues. We major so much on minors.
Do you consider the Twitter ban a minor?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is. Because immediately after, a few days after, we found that people could use a VPN and tweet from anywhere they are.
Fun fact. Uber Facts actually tweeted and said that the VPN was one of the search for VPNs, different types, was 14 times higher. 24 hours after the Twitter ban. 14 times higher in
consequently,
Nigeria.
2 days after the ban, Nigerian words like wewe and boo boo were trending in the US. What does an American have to do with wewe?
It's obviously Nigerians.
Nigerians tweeting as though they're in the US. Did it stop anything? No. People tweeted this morning. People are going to tweet. We are going to have to build bigger facilities to lock people up because people are going to tweet.
All right, Kunle. So he described the Twitter ban and, the whole ruckus that has come with it as not entirely necessary right now, seeing as we have more important things to talk about or more pressing things to talk about, yes. Well, what are your thoughts?
Well, while on one side of the divide, I tend to agree with his position, I would say not completely. Because when you say, yes, let's put it in perspectives right now. You rightly said, look, we have so many issues facing us in the country. And when you begin to weigh the role of Twitter as being responsible for the insecurity situation in the country, for instance, or you weigh the role of Twitter as responsible for being some of the agitations that people have had. Look, sometimes we have a problem where those in authority do not want to take responsibility. Okay. For instance, if our leaders had done what was necessary in the first place, the issue of insecurity would not have become a conversation for social media. We would have dealt with the issue and addressed the issue as they ought to have been addressed without it escalating to the point where we are right now. You talk about separatist agenda. Look, why do people even have to raise these issues in the first place? Because they feel a perceived sense of injustice. And so, where do they vent? Because that's where I want to agree with the fact that, it's not as... Where do they vent? They go online and they vent because that is what Twitter as a platform has given to them. Not just Twitter alone, social media in general. Because let's not forget, look, it started from a very good point where it says that this whole issue shows the kind of powers that government controls. And of course, you have seen instances in North Korea. You have seen people have talked about when our situation with China, what other countries and the likes, Turkey and the likes of them. But we need to understand that we are in a democratic setting. Okay. We are in a democratic setting. The kind of rights that you enjoy in a democratic setting is not the kind of rights that people in communist settings or the likes, like in China and the likes of them, are actually, you ask yourself, are they even enjoying those benefits as much as we are? So that is what makes the power that government has right now different from what seems to be operating in other clients. Because when you are talking about people's rights, when you are talking about the right for freedom of expression, which is also the bone of conversation right now, that a lot of people feel, you are infringing on their rights. When the platform that has been made available to them, you kind of take away that platform away from them. And so, where do they express themselves? And you're talking about the democratic setting that I've made reference to. It is in the Constitution. I'm trying to look at, let me remember clearly, I think section 36 or 39 of the 1999 Constitution talks about the rights that people have. Freedom of expression, freedom to get access to information, without those rights and freedom being infringed upon. Although there are two sides of that argument. People have brought in that argument in the sense that, look, the same way Nigerians have the right to express themselves is the same way the president had the right to express himself before his tweet was brought down, which led to us having this conversation for 1 week now. The president had his tweets brought down, and Twitter, the government in reaction to that. What
are your thoughts on the president's tweet being brought down?
In the first place, let's look, you need to understand that there are also concerns on the part of government as to why Twitter, the way and manner Twitter has been used, and of course, they felt, Twitter did not act as at when necessary. But the president put up a tweet, and you understand that Twitter operates on rules as well. Yeah. They have their own guiding principle. Every social media platform, once you click on that privacy policy or whatever agreement, you are bound by the rules. And they have said it that, look, their platform will not be used otherwise. If you see anything harmful or hurtful, you can report. So for some people that saw that tweet from the president, where you say you are going to treat people, you are making reference to an event that happened in the past, an event that was not so palatable for Nigeria, that threatened the peaceful coexistence of the country. And you try to make reference and you said, oh, a lot of people did not witness the civil war. And look, what we went through in the bushes to keep this country safe. I understand what he was trying to see. But the manner at which it came out, right? It kind of felt offensive to people when you said, look, those people that are talking right now, that they did not understand what we went through, we will teach them in a language they understand. Look, there are so many ways you could have directed that statement that it didn't seem. Look, if you feel people did not understand, you had Twitter, for instance. That platform could have also been used to address that particular issue. And you could have explained to the people what people did not understand and why probably these agitations and this separatist agenda seem misplaced priority. Because look, if government as an institution, they use the social media platform to communicate.
Fantastic.
In fact, that is one of the quickest ways at which government sends its information across. So when you had that opportunity, that should have been the platform for you to have used. And then you could have dispelled, because failure for government to communicate effectively to the citizens also brings about this. And when the president posted that tweet, a lot of people felt, look, what language do you want to use that seemed that you would make us understand as against the use of force, which they understand that language, and they reported it, and Twitter, understanding its own rule, brought that tweet down. And you can see.
Let's I'm sorry to cut you off. Let's look at the issue of people's rights, because a lot of things, how do I put it now? A lot of activities go on Twitter that is not just information sharing. Businesses, we have, in fact, lately Twitter has been very instrumental to our security. We've had people who've been kidnapped, information about them is put up on Twitter, people who are missing. That's just to mention a few of the benefits that Twitter has brought to the table, especially for us in Nigeria. Shouldn't those have been considered first? Now I'm talking based on the part from the government point of view. At what point should they have considered that vis-a-vis the, in quote, slap to the president's face by deleting his tweets, Fortune?
I think that our government has the Nigerian government has a lot to learn in terms of managing communication. Yeah. Why do I say this? The ban came on the 4th, right? Mm-hmm. On the 5th. And this is government. Government is a unit. It's a part. It's an arm of it's a major arm, the executive arm of government, and all of that. The ban came on Friday. We're in the middle of a pandemic. One of the strongest platforms by which updates on the pandemic comes through to the people is by Twitter. So NCDC is tweeting the new numbers for the pandemic on the 5th, on Saturday, a day after the ban. 2 days after they tweet again. And so people are wondering, okay, I thought the government said don't tweet. A few days after, the Attorney General speaks about, the order for prosecution of people who go ahead to use the platform. Are you going to prosecute a government agency for using the platform after the ban? You see, so information management in the government is a major challenge. Between the government and the people, between the government and its agencies, between the key players in the government. And if you cannot manage information that way, then most times many people run with insinuations. Many people run with assumptions. And wherever assumptions, are the order of the day, then there is going to be a lot of misunderstanding. Which is what this issue is. Now, there are places where, for instance, the United States, the former president of the United States used to be a major offender of the Twitter rules and all of that, where, in fact, his own account was deactivated, not just the tweet taken down, his account was deactivated. Yes. It did not become a national issue. It didn't. And this is why I'm staying where I'm staying with. Look, these are issues that, for instance, the Minister of Information said something about Twitter reaching out and saying they want to have a conversation. These conversations could have been had quietly. Look, this is what the president was saying, this is the context and everything. Oh, Twitter says, oh, we now understand. And then puts out either
they will even put out an apology. As simple as that.
We move on.
So this is all looking like it's a a thing of ego. How could you?
And
How dare you?
That's where.
So we're using force to show
Yeah.
you what we can
So
do. Is
it's
that
like
what this
using
is?
a mallet
Mm.
or using an AK-47 to kill an ant. There are giants all over. We have the unrest in the southeast.
Yes.
We have even the fight against corruption. For the Abacha loot that is to be returned to, the Bori loot that is to be returned to Delta State. Where is it? We're still going back and forth with these things. Twitter is a personal business. It is a regulatable business. You are the government. Regulate. Move on.
Talking about regulation now, an update on the conversation, the whole Twitter conversation, is that the Minister of Information has come out to say that if Twitter will be unbanned, it would have to be registered. So that's pretty much domiciling it here in Nigeria. Registered, you have to pay taxes and things like that. Do you see that happening, Billy?
Well, I mean, the government, like we said, the government has certain powers and it has certain control.
Do you see Twitter bending to those rules?
Well, if they have to operate, do they have a choice? I don't think that if they're going to operate, they don't have a choice, because the federal government has said these are some of the conditions that we would give to you for you to be able to operate. Now, you remember why a lot of people had those statements? You remember you started where some people said, "Oh, can it happen? Can it not happen?" When the federal government took that decision, a lot of people have felt, look, is Twitter a registered company or entity in Nigeria that you can first that can make you first come out to make that pronouncement? And then doesn't it make a mockery when you know that their operations are not domiciled here in Nigeria? You come out to make that statement, and of course you expect that almost immediately, of course, until they had to talk to the telecoms before they had to be the ones down. It would have been a different case if they already had a presence, and of course, you know that almost immediately, because they had offices, they had presence here in Nigeria. When that directive came, you didn't have to use the route of the telecoms. They would have also gone to them and told them, look, we are suspending your activities for a period of time, and so period. Now, of course, you know that when they register, they will be registered under the Corporate Affairs Commission. Yes. And of course, the Corporate Affairs Commission has certain powers. You can regulate some of their activities, you can monitor some of their activities. All this issue of regulation that we have been talking about, it can happen. You can tell them these are the laws and this is the way you can operate, and this is the way you are not expected to operate.
I think the government should have even been ashamed to say at this point that these businesses have been operating within our space and there has been no license. No, I think we shouldn't say it too loud, because I mean, what were we doing all the while? Where were we? Look at the kind of revenues that these guys rake in. Think about Netflix. You know how much Netflix makes?
So, are you then saying that this new directive, that not just Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, each and every one of them have to be domiciled here or registered here under our CAC laws? How much freedom do you think these guys will have when they do come here?
But that's the thing. It's a democracy. How much freedom does a democracy give? Except, of course, if we are not running a democracy.
Our unique kind of democracy, do you foresee these corporations having...
I'm glad you said our unique kind of democracy, because look, when they bring their presence here, what does it mean? It means there are certain directives or there are certain terms that will be stated.
Okay.
This is how you are going to carry out your activities.
So, and you must agree.
You must agree.
You agree or you don't agree.
You don't agree.
Then that determines whether you do business
here. You do business here or you don't do business. Whether you are given the license to operate or you don't give the license to operate. And should you violate, of course, you know that there are consequences. Yeah. So they can come at you with anything. Like I said, the CAC has certain powers. And some of those powers could mean the power to investigate, monitor your activities. And if you are in violation of some of those activities, then at least, which means that the activities that are not in cognizance with what the government of the day wants, then, of course, they could take certain action.
Another angle to this is that it now empowers any corrupt elements to be able to have a chokehold on any company that comes in. Because we know that in Nigeria, there are it is said that the most popular gold in Dubai today is Nigerian gold. But we're not officially mining gold. So it means people are working here who are not regulated, who are causing unrest because they are getting something out of it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And somebody is looking the other way. That's why it's working.
Mm.
So it means that it also empowers people who are corrupt to have access to stuff they didn't have
control
access
it.
to before. So either ways, if you look at it, there are the advantages and the disadvantages. What we should all work towards is to have good governance. If we have good governance, sincere leadership, people who have political will to make things work the way they should work the democracy the way it should work, then we can start saying, okay, Nigeria will gain, Nigeria will this and that. But going the way things are going right now, for instance, the Constitution also says that the local government is a tier of government on its own. Is the local government a tier of government on its own right now? These are the questions. If it's not working, it means that we don't have the political will to make those things work yet. So rather than flex our muscles on the things that are most important,
Tech companies.
we will now go and be shouting at Twitter. You have a constitution.
Neglected.
Yes, we have issues. Can you deal with? We've been talking about local government autonomy as if it is a new concept. We actually do an allocation for local governments.
But in
It's
reality,
clearly stated
It's
in the
clearly stated
Constitution
there.
that money should be given to the
To
federal,
the federal,
shared to the
state,
state,
and
to
local
the
government. Does it get to the local government?
okay.
Is it not part of the constitution?
Which is even the background for every meaningful impact of governance. That the people should feel. The grassroots.
That's why I use the expression a unique democracy that we practice here in this part of the world. You've been listening to Hot Topics, you've been watching Hot Topics, and okay, today's episode has been, I'm sure it affects you, except of course you don't use social media, but you're watching this on YouTube, so you are most likely using social media. How has the Twitter ban affected you, your business, your personal life? Has there been anything that you've been concerned about? Have you downloaded a VPN? Do you know the rules and regulations of that? Or the smart way to move around a VPN? We'll be talking about that when we return from the short break that we're about to go on now. And lastly, we'll be touching on this aspect of the ban, reflecting on the media. Because there is a directive to the media, in particular, an offshoot of the Twitter ban. We'll look at that when we return from the short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's still Hot Topics on The Beach TV, and today we've been talking about the recent ban of Twitter, aka the Bird app, by the federal government of Nigeria. Reactions that have followed. Is it priority? Is it not a major issue? Have we spent so much time talking about it? Was it a clash of egos? All of these factors, we've looked at it. But there is a development that has, arisen from that, and that is the fact that Nigerians are more aware of the VPN. The introduction of the VPN, or the fame of the VPN in Nigeria, started off during the EndSARS protest, where a lot of people were afraid for their safety, so they had begun to talk about VPNs and how important it was. In fact, Nigerians foresaw the ban of the Twitter, but maybe with half heart. Nobody thought it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
But it has happened now, and Nigerians are downloading VPNs. But you see, there is also a risk involved with that. I'm going to ask the gentlemen in the studio with me what their thoughts are on the risk, or any information that you've gotten about the VPN. Do you use one? How do you stay safe? Or how do our viewers stay safe?
Well, I mean, the VPNs are, the much I know, I mean, I'm just a journalist. It's not like I did a course on VPNs or social media. But, I mean, in reading about it, in learning how it works and all of that, I found VPNs had actually been in use in Nigeria, pretty much for a while.
Yeah.
And, right from the eras of working remotely, so you could actually be sending messages as though you are in your office, but you are not, because for official matters and stuff like that. I know people who actually have worked like that and all that. The thing with the VPN is this: it actually masks your IP address and and location, and actually because there are so many of the IP addresses using that particular VPN, it's difficult to pinpoint one IP address and say this is the person who tweeted this and all of that. So it actually helps with the whole okay,
backdoor
access thing, But the thing with us is this: they say that if you want to hide something from a Nigerian, put it in a book. If you want to further hide it, put it in a policy. In an internet policy. I have never read a policy before. I just
click,
for
I
agree, and put it there and move on. That is where my fear for us is, because there are certain things that we might have accepted, that we don't know about. So in talking about this, my advice is this: just know what it is that you're doing. Social media is very broad. With the soft peddling of the federal government and all that is going on, Twitter might soon be back. So just soft pedal, take it easy, do what you have to do. But social media is very broad. There are many other platforms you can use to air your voice and all of that, even though it doesn't feel very much like freedom. That's what I think.
Because I was trying to use the right word. They said just be careful, and federal government is soft pedaling, and then you think Nigerians are that patient, because Twitter has become part and parcel of people's lives. Yes. Some people don't even. Everybody has Facebook.
Do you have a VPN?
Well, I don't even know if I should be answering questions on whether I'm still tweeting, whether I'm not tweeting. But a lot of people needed that alternative because look, some people it was another social life avenue for some
people. It was work.
It was work, exactly. You talk, where before you went on your break, you talk about the income that is being generated.
Yes.
Daily by the figures, you talk about 2.5 billion thereabouts. Yeah. So you can imagine how much the Nigerian market has lost because people were creating content, people were advertising that become a means of digital marketing for people. In fact, for some people, some influencers, they had to tell you that you had to get a number of people following you before you could get some endorsement deals.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can imagine for those that were business. Now, some people do it for the kind of for a certain freedom and avenue to express. But the business side of it, imagine how much people tend to lose. Yeah. And so for some people, that advice of they are suffering, so people should be patient. I don't know how patient Nigerians are.
No, I just meant not. Don't tweet.
Exactly.
I just said,
for some people,
make sure you know what it is.
For some people, being patient could mean, you could probably do away with Twitter and not download the VPN because you don't know. Because some people have also said, I understand the risk factors with VPN. Some people will say, you could be prone to hacking. So hackers could get access to your account through the back door. And you don't use VPN when you are doing certain transactions.
So your bank transactions, for instance.
But there are some phones, luckily, that have actually come with their own privacy protection. So you don't even need. I said I was not going to talk because I don't want to sound like a corporate using. But while there are consequences when people use what should not be the appropriate channel, but the thing is, you push people to the limit when you deny them of that what they perceive to be a certain freedom that they enjoy, and they do not have access.
The reason I asked that question is yes, pushed and all of that. We're looking for alternatives, but we also need to be security conscious because VPN trended and everybody's like, you get VPN. I get it. Which one?
I think that's the angle I'm looking at.
It became like a fad.
And some people were not even conscious because
some people were not conscious. That's why
you could use the VPN and you could not disclose. I noticed a lot of people spreading. And that is where it gives hackers the kind of confidence that they need. Some people were saying, you are using this VPN and you are using this. Download this VPN. Look, if you are using VPN just for you to be able to get access, even though it's wrong, although those that gave the directives, I think they also flaunted the directives and they used the same VPN. But look, you don't need to share the information. You could keep it to yourself for your own privacy protection, but also know that beyond the use on the app, there are also certain places where you have transactions that you should be careful of using VPN so that you don't get access.
In clear terms, just internet security awareness is important. So while we get more and more aware as to how to navigate the internet, we also need to be as aware of the security platforms that exist. Because virtual lives are almost like our regular everyday lives now.
Honestly.
So
even
it's just
with
like
the
walking
impact of
around
COVID,
without
everything has
security.
gone virtual.
So
all right. We're going to wrap this conversation up by talking about the NBC and the regulation. Would I say regulation now? Is that what I call it? That was Well, the instruction.
Yeah.
Let me just play safe and say
You said
instruction.
directive.
Directive. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. That was given to media houses. Yes, that was given to media houses to, not tweet, not get information from Twitter, and it sparked a lot of outrage because people were, or rather, some media houses were of the opinion that look, it's bad enough that we can't say certain things. We don't have freedom of speech in quote, in totality on air. Now you are stopping us from reaching our listeners. You're stopping us from, pretty much peddling our business on social media. You are media personalities. Give me your thoughts. In how did that directive make you feel? Did you feel even more gagged? Because there was a particular word in those, in the memos that were sent out, which was that it would be unpatriotic for media houses to get the information from Twitter or to still tweet, even after the federal government has said, the ban is all inclusive. This is your personal view.
Yeah. I mean, patriotism is interpreted by citizens in many different ways. Some people would, push it to the point of being able to give their lives for their nation. Some other people don't think it's that extreme. If you ask me, being patriotic is also seeing a red traffic light and stopping.
Yeah.
But we have politically exposed Nigerians at the highest seat of power, flaunting that rule as well. So how patriotic are we really? If we're talking about Nigeria, how patriotic really are we? But for the media, my understanding of media and being, in the fourth estate of the realm is that neutrality.
Yeah.
The place of neutrality, the place of the guy in between, giving you reports from this end and this end, and giving you all the perspectives and letting you make your opinion.
Yeah.
If we are truly, to function as media personalities, media houses and all of that, then we should be allowed to be neutral. Can we be neutral and say that ISIS attacked a certain region in Africa and then not sound as if we are in solidarity with ISIS? We just gave a report, because if we're going to be dispassionate, then that neutrality must be allowed to thrive.
Okay.
That's what I think. So if you say we must be patriotic, it means that we're taking a side. And that side is the government side, right? Or Nigeria's side, like the case may be. But the media is not there to take Nigeria's
side. Yes.
The media is there to be neutral and to put out information.
Uh-huh.
So that's, So if you're asking if it made me feel, it felt like I had a big rag in my mouth.
In fact, it was like there was this hammer and nail that was buried deep into your skull, and like, because we talk about patriotism, do you force patriotism or is it a willing ideology? Because you were indirectly telling the media houses your stand, and you say if don't use, if you do, I mean the media house should be able to, tell. Instinctively say, look, what should be the right side of this argument? What should not be? Like you rightly said, look, our job is to put out the information. Whatever platform we use and we choose to do that on is a platform that we feel, look, it should be accessible to people. So when you come down hard and you say, look, it's not an act of patriotism, then looking at this directive and this action in itself, is there anything, have you given Nigerians the reason to want to show patriotism? No, because look, you need to wait. Do you force it on people? Or is there something that makes them believe in the undying love for this country? As against when they feel they are being caged, or they are being suppressed, or they don't even have any rights to any form of means at which they can express. Because patriotism comes in different forms. It could come in your service. It could come in how you are allowed to express yourself on what the issues at stake are and how you get to provide a rally point and solution towards addressing those issues. People can be patriotic in different forms.
In my words, as a media personality, one thing I've always tried to remember is that I'm not an activist. So I'm not trying to carry people's agenda. I'm also not a patriot. So these are the two sides. If I'm going to be able to give out information, analyze information in the best way possible, and make it as neutral as possible, then I cannot be any of these. So if you
you're
are
just
asking me
pretty
to
much
be
the
a patriot, yes, then it means you are giving me a side to take. If you are trying to make me an activist, and antagonizing the government unduly and all of that, it also is unbalanced.
Wow, it's $1 million question. What exactly is our definition of patriotism? As the National Broadcasting Commission has asked media houses to pretty much stay away from Twitter because continuous use of it would be considered an act of unpatriotism. That is the current situation of things, but it's looking up. Yes, the federal government has indeed informed the country that Twitter has come to the table or will be coming to the table. We hope that
Did
this
they
is all
come to the
resolved.
table or were they dragged to the table?
Oh well, the table.
There's a
they're
table
there.
and
There's a
everybody
table
is coming
and they're there. So whoever made whoever come to that table. For now, we will get the details of that later. But we're really hoping that we as a people get to the point where the trust level between people and government is not further, destroyed. We're hoping that we get to a place where the people can boldly say that our government actually cares about us, listens to us, and is looking out for us. That is the new Nigeria that we all hope to see in our lifetime and the lifetime of our children. But until then, keep doing your part to ensure that you are contributing positively, no matter how little, to ensuring that the Nigeria of your dream, hopefully the new Nigeria, is a reality. Thank you, gentlemen, for gracing my studio today. And to you out there who has watched up to this point, thank you. My name is Uju Nwachukwu, and it's been Hot Topics. Today's episode is really hot. I'm signing out. I'll see you next time.